Welcome back to TechRadar. I'm Matt Phillips. I'm joined today by our mobile editor, James Peckham. How you doing, James?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well because today we are going to chat through the best Samsung phones you can buy right now. Now, links in the description. There are going to be links to buy all of these phones. They are, of course, affiliate commission links. So if you do buy through those, TechRadar gets a little bit of money off that. But we appreciate being supported by you, our audience. So thank you very much for that. And a link in the description to James's full list of all the Samsung phones broken down, which one might be right for you. We're going to go through the top 4 today for you on video. But if you're more intrigued about maybe older versions of Samsung phones, check out that list down below. But James, let's jump straight into it. Let's kick it off with our number 4 spot taken up by last year's Samsung phones. So tell us a little bit about these.
Yeah, we are talking about 4 spots, but there's more than 4 phones here. So we're talking about 2 phones here. This is the Samsung Galaxy S20 and the Galaxy S20 Plus. So those are the smartphones that Samsung debuted in February 2020. So they're a little bit older now. They're not the latest phones you can buy, but they are still fantastic devices. They're a little bit less powerful than some of the devices that we're going to be talking about later on in the list, but they still feature some of the best smartphone cameras we've seen from Samsung, and also some of the best screen technology as well. We'll dive into that a little bit more as we talk about the S21 series. And also we've left them in our ranking at this sort of position because the prices have dropped as well.
Yeah,
these are now much more affordable devices because there are newer phones from Samsung. So that's far more exciting for some people. If you have an older Samsung phone, if you've got an older Android phone, something like a Galaxy S8 or a Galaxy S9, you're still going to see a tremendous difference here when you move up to the S20. If you've got an S10, probably not going to see all that much, and maybe you want to be looking for the S21. But we still think that the S20 range are they were our best phones until about 2 months ago. So yeah, they're still a fantastic choice for a lot of people, even though they may not be the most exciting phones that you can buy right now.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say then is the kind of one standout feature of these phones? If I'm looking for X from my smartphone, I should go for the S20 range.
Still a fantastic camera. Again, not the absolute best camera. They feature in the best camera phone range on TechRadar, but they are not going to give you the absolute top end features, but they're going to give you a fantastic experience in that way anyway.
I love that. But if you're looking to save a little bit of money, head for last generation, but you're looking for a bigger screen, maybe an S Pen, where should they look, James?
The Note 20 Ultra is in third. That's the best S Pen experience you're going to find. The S Pen, for the uninitiated, is a stylus that you can retract from the bottom of the phone, use on the phone's display. Note 20 Ultra has a 6.9-inch screen, so this is an absolutely huge phone. A QHD display as well. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous screen. Now we've got the Galaxy S21 Ultra, which we'll be talking about in a minute. Spoilers about that, but so that also features an S Pen, but the Note 20 Ultra's S Pen is just far better. There's a lot more functionality in here. Also, a really big thing is that the S Pen fits into the side of the phone. If you're buying the S21 Ultra, you need to buy a case to have the S Pen attached to it. So it's a little bit different there. If you want the ultimate stylus experience, Samsung is offering that with the Ultra. It's far better than the Note 20 as well. The standard Note 20 edition just wasn't up to scratch as much this year, and the Note 20 Ultra really excelled. Again, a really, really expensive phone, but if you're looking for the ultimate experience from Samsung, this is going to be one of those options.
Yeah, it is a really interesting phone. I know one of the big features that sort of it touted when it was released is this idea that you can be making notes and it recording the audio in the room at the same time, and then you can click on those notes to play back that audio that was recorded at that time. Super useful for like students or journalists like ourselves. I know our friend Cherie uses this all the time, host of the Noise Cancelling podcast, and she loves her Note 20 Ultra. But does this migration of the S Pen over to the S21 Ultra spell the end for Note phones? What do we think?
We're not certain at the moment.
Yeah.
Samsung seem to be hinting that it's not the end of the Note range. That seems to be their general gist, but they have not come out and said outright that it won't be that we will definitely see a Note 21 come the end of the year. My gut feeling is that we will still continue to see Note phones for the foreseeable. As I say, the S Pen experience on the S21 Ultra is strong, but it's not as good as it is on the Note series. I feel like it's going to continue for a little while longer.
Fair enough. And obviously we've just had the S21 range launch. When do we typically expect to see the Note version of this generation of phones land?
Yep. Usually Samsung releases those phones in August.
Okay.
Obviously, a little bit different this year because the S21 range came earlier. So it may be that we see the Note range launch a little bit earlier. Again, COVID as well has also impacted a lot of phone launches.
Sure.
It completely changed the game for Apple's launch in 2020. So it may be that we see a different launch period for the Note 21 range. But yeah, I would expect around August, maybe a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit later.
Yeah. So even if you buy it right now, you're still going to get sort of 5 months of use without worrying about having not necessarily the latest version of that phone.
Totally. And these phones last for years, so
Yes.
you're not going to be disappointed with this. The technology is still fantastic here, and you're still going to be happy using this phone in 3 years' time.
Absolutely. So then moving on then, now number 2, the latest phones from Samsung, the S21 and S21 Plus range. What set these above last generation phones? There it is. Look at it right there.
S21. Yes, I'm using the S21 at the moment. One of the things that really set it apart was this new contour camera design, which I'm sure you'll show the audience. It's a really bold design choice. Basically, the camera is now being really accentuated with a golden hue around it, or different colors depending on what handset color you're going for. So basically, the big change here really was price. Samsung has now made the S21 and the S21 Plus cheaper than the S20 and the S20 Plus were at launch. You can still find some S20 handsets a little bit cheaper than the S21. That's just the name of the game because those phones have been out for a year now. But the fact here was that they dropped a few different features. So instead of a QHD display, they've now switched to a full HD display. There's also no micro SD support on the S21, and these few little changes essentially just allowed Samsung to drop the price. In the US, they managed to drop the price by $200. It's not as dramatic in the UK or Australia, but it's still a lower price. And for many people who already think that smartphones are too expensive, this is a big deal. Now, the tech that you are getting here is again that same camera that we saw on the S20 with a few different software tweaks as well. So it's a fantastic camera experience. You are also getting the brand new Exynos 2100 chipset if you live in the UK or anywhere else in the world that isn't the US. If you're in the US, you're getting the Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 chipset. Both of these have been fantastically powerful. You're getting some incredible speeds with these handsets to be able to run any of the games you're expecting. Honestly, the performance has been fantastic on my handset that I've been using. But again, you are getting some differences from the S20 range. That's also why we've now ranked the S21 in second place rather than in 2020. The S20 was our best phone in the world. Samsung has now put a lot more of the onus of the innovative elements and that sort of thing onto its Ultra range, which we'll talk about in a moment. Spoilers again, that is about top spot. But yeah, the S21 is now, the S21 and the S21 Plus are now much more focused on being a little bit more affordable. They're still not the most affordable phones on the market. They're still flagship level prices, but they offer a fantastic experience with a few different features cut just to try and bring that price down.
Yeah, absolutely. And if your focus is around the camera module, like you said, it is the same camera module from last year's device. We have those software increases, but it really comes down to design, right? Like you're saying, they're really accentuating that camera module now. I personally quite like it. I don't know how you feel about it, but if that speaks to you, then this might be the one to go for. But like you said, moving on then to the S21 Ultra, the best Samsung phone you can buy right now, obviously. Also, obviously, the most expensive Samsung phone. Well, that's actually not true, is it? The foldable phone's still more expensive? Anyway.
Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But yes, the S21 Ultra, let's move on to this then. What sets this really apart? Like you said, a lot of innovation now going into the Ultra range as opposed to the normal range.
Yeah, so Samsung sort of changed the game a little bit in 2020 when they released 3 different elements of the Galaxy S series. Usually we've been used to the S phone and then a Plus variant of that. Last year we saw the S20, the S20 Plus and the S20 Ultra. The S20 Ultra was a little bit lacking. It wasn't really offering all that much. It was an incredibly expensive device. It was genuinely a price that floored a lot of people when it was first announced.
Yeah.
Samsung this year have brought a lot of those features into the S21 Ultra, improved a few elements there as well, and also brought the price down. Again, it's $200 less than the S20 Ultra was at launch. It's still a remarkably expensive phone. In the UK, you're going to be spending, I think it's £1,150 in the UK. I think it's $1,200 in the US. So again, this isn't a cheap smartphone, but if you
No.
want one of the top experiences, and we rank this as our best smartphone at the moment, this is going to be a great choice for you. That 100 times zoom camera is back. Personally, I don't find all that much use for that in day-to-day life, but it is a fantastic experience for just that sort of novelty that you want with a smartphone, where you can play around with it. But again, it's not going to be something you're using day in, day out. If for the camera that you are getting for day in, day out usage, though, again, it is one of the absolute best. It ranks as our best camera phone at the moment, because you get the extra features of that telephoto zoom, the 100 times zoom, but then on top of that, you've got everything else that you need there as well. So this is a fantastic just point and shoot camera. Essentially, there's a single take mode, which is something Samsung's been experimenting with for a few years. Where you can just hit the button once, and that will essentially mean that the camera will take a variety of different images. It'll do one in black and white, it'll take some video, it'll take a GIF, it'll do all of these different elements at the same time. If you're shooting pets or something like that, or even young children running around, it's a fantastic idea for that, because you never know which is going to be the best photo in that way. And AI will also essentially hammer that home to you and go, these are the best. You're getting that incredible power there as well that we spoke about with the S21, the Exynos 2100 in the UK, and the Snapdragon 888 in the US. And you're also getting 12 gigabyte of RAM or 16 gigabytes of RAM. One of the negatives of this handset is there is no micro SD support. Considering this is the all-in amazing top-end phone that Samsung is toting it as, that's going to disappoint a lot of people. You can buy 128 gigabytes of storage, 256 or 512 gigabytes, depending on what your needs are. Considering we have seen phones that have gone up to a terabyte from Samsung in the past because they've had micro SD support, this is a bit of a disappointment for some. Again, as I've said, this is a very expensive phone, but if you're looking for the absolute best, we think this the Galaxy S21 Ultra is for you.
And like we mentioned earlier with the Note phones as well, there is stylus support, there is S Pen support here. You have to buy a separate case if you want to house it with the phone, because there's no hole for that, which makes sense. I think if they'd introduced a hole for that pen but taken away the SD card slot, people would have gone crazy, right? But yeah, that SD card slot I know is a big hang up for a lot of people. Do you think that there's any chance we see that returning? If there's a Note S21 down the road, do you think it has an SD card slot, or are we done with that now? Like the headphone jack, game over, never coming back?
I'm honestly not sure, genuinely. I do think it's a feature that certain users really want. I think Samsung has probably looked at some metrics and thought that 512 gigabytes is enough storage for some people. It probably is for the absolute masses, but I think there's that 1% of people out there that do want that extra option, especially as people use their smartphones for longer and longer as well. Most people are used to 2 years of using a smartphone, then upgrading to the next thing. But we've seen in the last few years that more and more people are using those phones for longer. That's when you need that more storage. That's when you also have that micro SD support that you can then add on later when you go, wait, I've filled up my phone full of photos, I don't want to upgrade yet, so I'm just going to get a 128 gigabyte card and install that into the phone. I think it's a real shame in that way that none of the handsets in this range offer that as a feature. You sort of need to know how much storage you need when you first buy the handset, so really consider whether you want to go for the cheapest 128 gigabyte option, or if you're going to be using this phone for the next 5 years even, you may want to go for a slightly larger model there as well.
And I know that people in the comments will be saying there's a big omission from this list, and we mentioned it a little bit earlier. There are no foldable phones in this list. Samsung made 2 foldable phones. Are we expecting 2021, maybe 2022, to be the year where we really see a foldable phone creep into this list?
Sure. You'll see the full list on the site if you head to best Samsung phone, which you'll find in the description. We do feature one of the foldable phones in there, the Z Fold 2, but it's very low in the list, mostly down to that price. The price is phenomenal, really. It's genuinely it's just a huge price. We are expecting to see the Z Fold 3 and the the Z Flip 3 as well at some point this year. At the moment, it looks like that's coming in the middle of the year, probably around the same time as the Note phones. I'm not really sure if we're going to see them rank any higher in this list. The price probably needs to be lower. The functionality probably needs to be a little bit better there. But we did see from the original Fold to the Z Fold 2, there was a huge step up from Samsung. The Fold didn't feature in our list at all, I don't think, because the price was so high and the functionality wasn't as good. So if Samsung continues on that cadence, maybe we will start to see that see these phones slip in later. But yeah, at the moment it's just not readily recommendable to most people that are watching this video.
No, for sure. Absolutely. Well, James, thank you so much for joining me. Let us know down in the comments below which Samsung phone you're currently rocking if you're looking to upgrade. I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts on all of that. Like I said, head to that link in the description as well. You'll see James's full list mentioning all the Samsung phones, including the Fold. See if you fancy it. But yeah, thanks, James, for joining me, and we will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.